the topic that I think that is the hardest to talk about in Epstein is the satanic culty stuff that is all over the files, and it's really disturbing stuff. You guys know that one of the items in there stuck out to me almost immediately. It just happened to be when I was getting prepared for RT, going on RT, giving my initial thoughts of what was happening, knowing that I didn't even have time to go through everything. But Shadow Ezra did a breakdown on this one, and you guys know that the George Bush Senior thing, it really stuck. It really like struck me that there's this whole report from this victim. This that was a little boy at the time. The victim says that allegedly that George Bush Senior raped a male victim, raped him while he was also subjugated to a ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a sword. This little innocent boy victim also stated in this file on record that he witnessed a baby being dismembered and their intestines removed on a yacht. He says that people on the yacht ate the feces from the intestines. And just this one, and I know this is disturbing to think about, that you could imagine this happening. This reminds us of Pizzagate. We know that was, it turns out Pizzagate was real, guys. It turns out that this is worse than twisted dudes that have pedophilia, that they committing crimes against children. This is where we're getting deep and dark into satanic, ritualistic cult behavior in which the people participating are doing it in a way that it signifies something, part of a cult, part of a tribe. This type of stuff we showed you with the Rothschilds parties that Stanley Kubrick depicts in his films in Eyes Wide Shut. We see that they're part of this thing, this dark entity that means that once you're in, you're always in. And this is why we say that they're all working together on the same side, because once you see each other in the most darkest, horrible situation possible, imaginable, you're tied for life. And so there is something about that gang cult mentality that is very prevalent here. And this is all over the file. So I just want to do this. As we say, Pizzagate was real the whole time, guys. It wasn't a conspiracy. I want to just hear from Epstein's niece as she explained. Epstein's actual niece explains what life was growing up for her in this cult behavior. This is she's in this interview. I'm just show you guys a clip. She's exposing that her families, the families that she grew up with, were a part of a satanic cult called BAAL. And she accuses these powerful elite figures of running a child sex trafficking network with ties to ancient Baal worship, which they frame as a belief system among those seeking godlike power.
Let's hear. That's also what Epstein named his bank account, Baal.
Ah, God, it's so. Yes, the bank account, and they built the island in a way that would replicate these ancient rituals from that time. So it wasn't just a random chance that he happened, that the design of everything and the names of the bank accounts were all giving tribute, as they say, to this ancient cult, which I suppose they represented, according to Epstein's own niece. This is her explaining a little bit of what her traumatic childhood was like growing up as an Epstein.
Of BAAL, BAAL. My family masqueraded themselves as Jewish publicly, but behind closed doors, at Passover dinners, when I was drugged, would admit, we are Satanists. They told me that we belonged to the cult of BAAL, BA'Al. They told me this with consistency while I was being abused. Now, what you can look up about the cult of BAAL, information that is publicly available, is that it is thousands of years old. It is a Phoenician satanic fertility cult. And publicly, it's supposed to have been eradicated. But to my knowledge and my experience, it is not. This is what people perceive the Illuminati to be. It is a group of elites that practices forced and uses these crimes to control people. They happen to have a huge reach over politics and entertainment. To answer your basic question, why my family does this, because it was done to them, because having one man bear as many children in a generation as possible and forcing them through these traumatic events, they believe it creates a stronger bond, that creates more loyalty, that it keeps people from talking. And for the most part, they're right, because I'm the only one of my siblings who has directly spoken out about this. There are people who have hinted at it in their music. Of course, Justin Bieber has talked about being assaulted by Usher and Justin Timberlake at P. Diddy's parties, but I don't think it's a coincidence they've only gone after Sean Combs and not his other alleged perpetrators who were born into the bloodline.
This is what we're saying. They protect some and then they throw others under the bus. So that's a good distinction there. She's telling us that some get thrown under, some get protected for life.
Seems to be a level of protection for people who are simply born into that world, contrasted with people like Sean Combs or R. Kelly, who joined as adults. But I was not in the boardrooms. I was a child on drugs. So I can't tell you exactly who organizes this, exactly how it happens. It's just speculation and memory.
Yep. I mean, and people have to realize, a lot of these people would unfortunately rather blow the world up than to be held accountable, for their crimes. And, that's why I think it's particularly important that we take notice, of the fact that the last nuclear treaty, in existence between us and Russia actually expired yesterday. That's the START treaty. And, I really think now is a time when we have to be more vigilant than ever, because, these elites will evade justice and hold on to power for as long as they can. So we have to really pay attention, to what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
But
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick, just to comment, on what they're saying over there. I'm glad that Epstein is being exposed, and the participation of some Jews in it is being exposed. But I want people to remember it goes beyond just Jews. She just mentioned it's a Phoenician cult. They have ties to the Vatican. They have ties to these secret societies, like George Bush Sr., who started out this thread that we're going through. He's a Skull and Bonesman. Skull and Bones is like a brother organization to the Freemasons. It's just more exclusive. It's a smaller one, but they all lead back to the Knights Templars. And again, the Knights Templars founded Switzerland. So let's talk about the Zionists and the Jewish people who are involved. And let's talk about the other organizations that are involved. This way, if you're a Jew and you're listening to this, you don't think that people are only talking about Jews and people are saying all Jews do this. Because if you listen to what, Epstein's niece said just now, she didn't say that this is a Jewish practice. She said that this is part of the practice of the cult of Baal. And I would argue the overwhelming majority of Jews are probably not part of that. Now, I don't go to synagogue. I don't know what they're talking about, but I know the average Jew is not taking part in child sacrifice. So if anyone is out there saying that, I would strongly ask them to reconsider that. Now, that being said, you know, people can get weaponized and people can get, like depending on your ideology, you can get manipulated. And let's not forget, like, you remember those videos that came out like last year of people crawling out of tunnels in New York and they happen to be like Jewish,
by the way,
Yeah.
there's brand new tunnel footage in the files that came out as
Yeah,
well.
so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that if you're Jewish, you should deny that these things exist, but you should also be open to asking, how are some people in this religion being manipulated? And how is it that there seem to be some synagogues where more people are participating? So if you are a Jew, it should be even more urgent for you to get to the bottom of this, because the longer Jews don't talk about this, the more people are going to suspect that Jews are all part of this. So if you were Jewish and you go to synagogue, I would urge you to start bringing up this topic more often and asking, how is it some synagogues and some rabbis are seemingly more involved in this than a lot of people know? And lastly, let's not forget the most widespread child abuse scandal that I can remember in recent history was also perpetuated by the Catholic Church. The priests that were out there raping boys, and it was being covered up at the highest levels. And let's not forget, part of the Catholic religion is to confess your sins, right? So if you were going to start a blackmail operation, it does seem like the Catholic Church does present several ways, like to make that happen. So again, it's not about overly focusing on one group. It's about talking about everything that's going on. And if you're Jewish, again, I urge you to loudly speak out about this. So, more Jews can be seen to like be pushing back. And again, I want to commend Normal Finkelstein, who did you see that email, Matt? There was an exchange
when he said,
that came out.
No, thanks. I want nothing to do with that.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, this is the reaction that I would guess the majority of Jews would have. But let's not kid ourselves. There's a Muslim ISIS, and there's also an extremist group within the Jewish community that is bringing down the name of all Jews, the same way how ISIS brought down the name of Islam. So talk about it. Call it out. Don't shy away from the conversation, and don't accuse anyone who's worried about it of being anti-Semitic.
And the comparison to ISIS is perfect because we fund that as well. We fund these things, and that's why you're going to see this commercial on Super Bowl Sunday, because we fund the thing to show you that there's this extreme thing and we have to stop it, and we have to do everything we can to stop it. We fund the thing to show you the thing. That's the point. And so we'll do. So we pit people against each other in those camps. They've been playing us our whole lives, and no, we're not falling for that shit anymore. But I like the way you broke that down there, Jay. Just really quick on this, because we were in the kind of the Pizzagate rabbit hole. To remind people that was 10 years ago when you were called a QAnon conspiracy theorist. There was a reporter. His name was Ben Swan. He was the first to air a Pizzagate segment, which is where he went into the Hillary Clinton emails. Now we were talking about the WikiLeaks that exposed, right? So Julian Assange has exposed all of the deception on the Bernie side, all that stuff. We were looking at that, but at the same time, there were these emails, there were all this little code words, right? And everybody dismissed it. But it turned out that it's all been validated. All of that is true. The code words are absolutely everywhere in these files. And it reminded me of
if you search pizza in the Epstein files. Oh, never mind. You got it.
Well, this is one of them. The head count so you have one of these files here. This is from 2007. You guys can see it's a head count for pizza. This is just an example. Are you sure this might not be a Jim Jones Kool-Aid event? TKL, please eat my slice. Okay, so what is that? Well, that's just I guess they're talking about pizza, right? No, who in the Austin office today is going to want some pizza? We only have one slice, and we need to know how many to slice, right? How thinly to slice it. This is from August of 2007. So there's a whole bunch of them, but this is the pizza. Yeah, you mean this. Oh my God, look at this one, radiating a soft glow, this look of bliss and excitement. Yeah, that's the the pizza all of a sudden has a bliss and excitement and a glow. Wow, they must really, really like their pizza. Well, turns out this is the code names. We already knew this, and if you put this out there earlier, like 10 years ago, you were canceled. I mean, I told you guys that the reporter, his name was Ben Swan. He was fired immediately when he aired this thing. He was doing an actual investigation, and he saw that hot dog meant boy and that pizza meant girl, and there are all these codes. This stuff is we've known it, so this has been validated now. You know who else has been validated? Jim Caviezel, who did the film. He acted in the film. You guys remember? We talked about it on the show. It was Sound of Freedom. That's a movie that they were calling a QAnon piece. He says, no, we have to make these film. And I just want you guys to hear, this is Jim Caviezel being vindicated, but he still looks very troubled because this isn't about winning. This isn't about being right. This isn't about saying, I told you so, I was right. He's reliving the trauma that he went through when he first talked about adrenochrome, when he first talked about this stuff. Listen to his own words. This is what happens when you have courage and you speak out on things and people don't want to hear it and they want to make jokes about it. And Stephen Colbert wants to joke about it on his show. Guess what? It was all real.
That's not true. It's C9H9NO3. This is a chemical compound that is absolutely listed. It's been around in modern science since the 1930s. You can actually, there's a synthetic form and there's a regular natural form, which is caused by torturing little kids to get their adrenaline up, essentially, and then extracting it from them. When you sit and meet, and so I brought this up a few years ago, and all of a sudden I was attacked by every media. Look it up. It's there. They absolutely went after me. And the next day, I never heard from my agency for 14 months. My lawyers let me go. My agency never called me after that, and essentially I was done.
So, and the reason we're able to say you've been vindicated, man, is because it's all over these files now. We know this was true. We know this was true, and I it makes this moment very important for us to kind of, take a breath and say, the work that these people have been doing. These, it's on one hand, it's good. Yes, it's good to say, we were right, but it's also very tragic that people got silenced and bullies and lost their careers. But it goes to show you that when you do the right thing, generally it's an uphill battle, and you have to pay the price. As we know on this show, we've been paying the price for standing up against Israel and their crimes, and that's what happens. And you got the surveillance state, you got the censorship, you got the making it criminal, taking people off their platforms and locking people up, as we know it's happening all over Europe. And so we know that this is the technique. So if there's one thing we can learn from this, let's just learn that all those conspiracy friends you thought you had that you were making fun of, let's extend a hand right now. Let's extend a hand and say, hey, you don't have to, if you don't want to say I'm sorry, don't say you're sorry if you don't mean it. But at least let's go for understanding and empathy that we're all trying here.
This doesn't mean every single conspiracy theory that's ever been said is going to be true. And I remember hearing about the adrenochrome thing, and my reaction was like, nah, like there's no way. That doesn't make any sense. There's no way politicians are out here drinking the blood of tortured babies. And here we are.
The way I found out about adrenochrome was watching the movie Monsters on what is it called? Yeah, the Pixar film from 2000. They told us in a children's Pixar film about adrenochrome. I don't even
remember that. I might have to go.
No, it's in a kid's film. You can go watch it. They tell you that the monsters they need the it's like this red liquid that goes up the tubes. So they have to jump out of the closets, scare the kids, and it helps them survive. It's like their fuel. And the kids so you have to scare. So the whole movie is about monsters scaring kids, and you scare them so the kids will get this kind of flow of energy, and then it'll go through a tube, and they make it red. They don't have to make it red. It turns out to be red. They don't say it's blood, but I'm saying they made it red for some reason. This weird energy the monsters in the closet need to survive. It's off of fear of children. It's in a Pixar film. Go check it out. Monsters Inc. That was it. Monsters Inc. Look it up. Go watch it. It's fun for the whole family, guys. Back in 2000. Go watch it. They're telling you about adrenochrome. So I'm just saying they drop little hints around. So there you go. Yeah, go check out Monsters Inc. That's the film.